Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Michaela. So we got Larissa and Michaela on this evening. Does anybody have any words of wisdom for us this evening? You can put up your hand and have a quick word before we officially start. I see there is one hand up. Who's got a hand up?
Samantha.
Oh, Samantha. How are you this evening, Samantha?
Hi, Chris. Hi, Larissa.
Hi, how are you, Samantha? Are you good?
I'm very good, thank you. I spoke to Larissa yesterday or the day before. I just wanted to say a big thank you to you, Chris, and your team, Larissa, Raquel, and Pearl. I think Pearl's gone now. I had my test on Monday and I passed it.
What? Amazing. Yes.
Yes.
Wow. That is absolutely
Yeah, literally. And you
beautiful.
booked the test for me for the 18th, and it was literally, I was watching all the videos, I was watching taking all your advice on board and everything, and yeah, I passed it. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. Listen, have some safe driving. I hope there's lots of thousands of miles of safe driving and real pleasurable driving in there for you. And Samantha, thank you for that. We always appreciate the feedback, but our objective is for you guys to pass. We want you to pass. That's what it's all about. It's a new beginning, Samantha. It's a brand new beginning. It's a new world. You've got your bucket list for this year. What's your bucket list for next year, Samantha? Come on, give us something really big for next year.
Well, to start my business, but I've started doing a course that's going to allow me to be able to start my own business in property.
Okay. Yeah.
So I just need to, now that I've passed my driving test, I just need to get back to the course, finish the course, and hopefully start start the business, get it up and running. I've done most of it. My sister and I have done most of the remedial work, like the website, registering the company and stuff like that. So it's just I just need to just buckle down and.
Samantha, I do a lot of consulting work as well. I do business consulting work for businesses, and we develop our own websites. All the work, all the website work, the webinars, all of this is our own internal work.
Amazing.
Yeah, so Samantha, if you want a little bit of help on that, you're more than welcome to give us a call. And because next year I want you to say, wow, I hit 6 figures this year. That's a good one for me. Was a good year.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, so if you want to go over that plan sometime and have a chat with me about it, just contact us.
Definitely. I will do.
And you can take the advice we give, or you can leave it. It's up to you. You don't have to pay for it. Okay?
No, I'll do that, Chris. Thank you so much for your help.
Okay,
really
so your next year's, your bucket in the next year is to get that business off the ground and to make it happen.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, and you join us, and we'll give you some real negotiating skills as well. We got some really good stuff, material on that we've
I will do.
a lot of people. All right, so maybe we can help you a little bit.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay, Samantha, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so this is up for grabs. If anybody thinks they're ready to tell me what the I in MSM is. Okay, all right. I have 2 hands here. Minnie, I see you are at the top of the list, so I'm going to ask you to give us a Minnie. You're live. If you unmute yourself, you can go for it.
Hi, can you hear me?
Clearly.
Oh, good. I literally just joined in, so I wasn't on the call for the past couple of minutes, so I'm not sure exactly what the topic is for tonight, but I just heard you say IMSM. Are you looking for the what it's abbreviated for?
Yeah, what is the I in MSM for?
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna just take a wild guess. I could be absolutely wrong. Is the I for indicate?
No, it isn't, because mirror signal maneuver.
Yeah, that's the one I had in mind.
Yeah, so there's an I in there as well. Okay, no, you know what MSM is for. That's a good start. Well done. Okay.
I've just learnt that last weekend.
Yeah, there we are. That's good. We're going to cover some of that. There's some really important information I'm going to give you guys around mirror signal maneuver as well, just on the mirror signal maneuver side, which is really useful as well. Well done. You did good for coming up. Really appreciate it. Okay. All right. So do we have any other hands at the moment? Nobit Zanaka. Yes, sir. You can give us an I for MSM. What is the I for?
For identifying.
Yes, you've been here before, Nobit. You hit it
Yeah.
right on the dot. It's MSM, isn't it? Is that right?
Yeah.
Identify. Yes. Identify the type of junction. Identify what you're about to do. Identify where you're going to pull up. Identify the type of roundabout. Identify the traffic lights you're dealing with. Identify the crossing you're dealing with. Once you've done that, you can adjust your speed accordingly. You can do the mirror signal maneuver, because then you know what you're dealing and you can plan for it. Nobit, you need to drop all your details in the Q&A. We'll contact Lariska tomorrow. Well done. You've got a £20 gift voucher. Well done, Nobit.
Thank you. Fortunately, tomorrow I'm having my test.
Oh, brilliant, Nobit. All right, let me give you a big tip here, okay? Slow and careful on the junctions, all right? Don't be afraid to slow down for the junction and to be slow and careful on the junction, all right? And take your time on the roundabouts. Take your time, all right?
Okay.
And then drive to speed on the road. That's what you do. But when you're approaching a junction or you're approaching a turning point, slow it down. Give yourself time to do mirror signal maneuver. And every time you get an instruction, do the necessary mirror checks, yeah? No, but good luck with that. And hopefully you're going to crack that for us. So next week you'll come and tell us as well. Did it?
Yeah, even if I fail to make it, I will definitely come and give you a feedback.
Yeah, you must do that, Nobit. You must do that. All right. Okay, guys. Yes, Nobit had it absolutely correct. And the I is for identify, and it comes before mirror signal maneuver. The thing is that it doesn't help you to mirror signal maneuver and to do all sorts of stuff if you have not actually doing the mirror signal maneuver gives you the lead-in and the time into the junction. But the thing is that you need to do is you need to plan in your head what junction you're dealing with, what it is you're dealing with, what is it about, where do you have to go, what is the speed, because different junctions need different speeds. If you're approaching a zebra crossing and there are a bunch of people approaching the zebra crossing, you really have to slow down and be prepared to stop. Obviously, all the time you have to be prepared to stop. But a big open junction, identifying an open junction, an open T junction where you can see far up the road, might not necessarily need that very big difference in speed. You might be able to go through quite quickly because you can identify the junction better, you know what you're dealing with. It's a giveaway line, it's not a stop line, it's this, it's that. And that's what you actually end up doing, okay? All right, we're going to watch a little video first. I want to just take you to Best Driving School, BDSL online. So let me just set that up, because this setting up of the mirrors is going to affect what you do for the rest of your lives. If you get it wrong, you are always going to disadvantage yourself. Guys, and I want to tell you something, and you can go and check this out. 99% of the tuition, 99% of the tuition on how you should set your mirrors is wrong. And it really is wrong, because it increases the amount of blind spot you have. If you set the normal process of mirror setting, the way people tell you to set mirrors, you increase your blind spot area. Whereas if you use an alternative advanced method, of setting up your mirrors, you actually decrease the amount of area you can't see. And your mirror checks are much more effective and much safer, okay? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share the screen, share that with you. All right, this is our BDSL online tutorial. So normally you would just log in there. And once you've logged in, you'll get a series of videos that you can watch. But the one I'm going to show you a little bit about is this one here. Now, just going to give you a teaser from this one. So let me just...
Okay, what this episode is going to be about is how to set your mirrors correctly. And we're going to show you the advanced method of setting your mirror so that you get a much better panoramic view of what's going on around you. And to a very large extent, you eliminate blind spots in your immediate driving environment, because that's the area when the cars are closest to you and the bicycles and motorcyclists are closest to you that they create problems for you. So if you can get your mirrors to increase your view around the car instead of focusing in behind your car, then you're going to be able to see the dangers that approach you much more better. And we just don't believe in this story that the door handles are dangerous. I've been driving now for 40 years now, and I've never seen a door handle jump out and hit a car, and not even any of my own door handles. Isn't that amazing? All this time, and door handles never posed a danger to my driving. So it kind of begs the question as to why we should be watching them. I wonder if anybody's thought about that. But anyway, I mean, we all tend to set our mirrors to watch the door handles. I hope that by the time of the end of this series, you will be sufficiently convinced to advance your driving to the point where you don't watch those dangerous door handles anymore. Okay, when we're driving on the road, the one problem that we've always got is that the moment the car sets off, the moment the car starts to move forward, it's also moving backwards. And the question is, how is that possible? Well, it's really simple, because if your car is only moving forward, it means you're going faster than everybody else on the road. And what happens is, the moment we start to move, we start encountering traffic from behind. And we have people on motorcycles, bicycles, runners, all sorts of people, maybe overtaking us when we're in traffic or when we're coming up to a junction to turn left. And a lot of cyclist accidents happen because the cyclist will try to undertake the vehicle as it starts to want to turn left. So we have to be continually aware of what's going on behind us. We continually have to update our information and know what is coming from behind and what is trying to overtake us. And that means that if we're looking forward and getting all this information from the front, we must also be thinking of all this other stuff that's coming from behind, because we are going to be slower than some other people on the road. We're either thinking it's safer to drive a little bit slower because of a lot of traffic, and then the motorcyclist who's got a pizza guy on top of it and wants to deliver as quickly as possible has a death wish and tries to overtake you as you're trying to turn right. How many times that has happened to me is unbelievable. And then you also have the really intolerant person who you've got to watch out for. You're a little bit slow, or you're with a learner and you're turning right into a junction, and they will actually undercut you while you're turning right to get into that same junction. Now, how good an example that is to the learner is obviously questionable. But I mean, that is, to me, just utter stupidity. But anyway, we live with that. So don't think that not knowing what's going on behind you, or not checking your mirrors at that moment when you're about to turn right or about to turn left, you might do it 1,000,000 times, and just once out of that time, 1,000,000 times, it actually saves your life or saves somebody else's life, because that's what we're there. We're selfish drivers. We need to really, really keep ourselves safe. If we are safe, it means everybody else around us is also safe, because the safer we drive in terms of our own selves, the safer we drive for everybody else on the road as well. Now, the proper way to set your mirrors is, first of all, obviously the center mirror is pretty much set in stone. We're trying to cover as much of that back window as we can and balancing the size of the two mirrors with each other. So we're balancing the back window and the size. Okay, so we've got the back window set up. And then what we want to try and do is when we set this main mirror, we want to put our hand at the top and bottom of the main mirror. And we adjust it by using, but we must sit in our driver position. And we normally use our left hand to do that with. So we use our left hand and we adjust this mirror so that we've got the mirror frames the back window as best we can. So that gives us a really nice view of what's going on behind us. Now, to set your side mirrors correctly, I have found that the best way to do that is you have to set your right hand mirror so that when you're leaning to the side with your head almost against the glass, you see just see the dangerous, the most prominent dangerous door handle. And then when you go back into your driving position, you're not going to be able to see any of the side of the car. When you've got the situation where you've set your side mirrors to watch these dangerous door handles, setting it correctly, what you would do, and I want you to take note of this because this is a really interesting situation. On the very far right, you can't see anything there, right? But actually there is a car there. There is actually a car there. So now when I lean over to the side, so I can just see the side of the car, my head is now right up against the window, and I set this mirror so that it is just watching that dangerous door handle at the extremity of my car. And I now go back to my driving position. Just watch what happens. I'm now in my driving position. You can actually see that car, which is in the area which would be regarded as a blind spot. Now, setting your mirrors incorrectly, that car would not be visible. But setting your mirrors correctly makes that car visible. And the beauty about this, and this is a good way to look.
Okay, I'm just going to hold that there for a second. I want to ask people, I want to just make sure that the people are happy with what they've seen there so far. Now, that full video is available on BDSL online. And all you as clients can get access to those videos simply by contacting our your client manager, asking contact for that. But the important thing here is that you need to realize, if you set your mirrors up so that you are watching the extremities of that vision area and moving your side mirrors to look to your sides, but still overlapping the mirror, the behind mirror, where the main mirror faces backwards, you will end up with a much better vision area with your mirrors. Now, that full video goes on to explain it in a lot of detail, and it helps you to set up your mirrors in a different driving position so that it's a lot safer for you to drive, okay? Now, this way of setting mirrors is extremely good because it gives you this opportunity to look directly into what would normally be a blind spot area. And that's why it is so important to use this advanced method of setting up your mirrors, because it gives you this opportunity to really get a panoramic view of what's going on behind you. Whereas if you set them up so that you're watching dangerous door handles and all three mirrors are looking behind you, you close that vision area behind you and you create blind spots on either side of your car, which you are not looking into. Now, when you're driving on the highway and you have to make sudden decisions to change lanes, you don't really want to be looking behind you over your shoulder if you set your mirrors correctly. If you set your mirrors correctly, you actually eliminate that lane, the lane blind spot area, which gets eliminated by setting your mirrors in this way. And it doesn't undo your vision behind you. What it just does is it makes your center mirror in your car the mirror that's looking behind you, and you're not also using your side mirrors to look behind you, because what's the point? If you can see a car in your main mirror, why do you want to look at that same car in your side mirrors? Use your side mirrors to clear the lanes on either side of your car, and you're going to be a much safer driver. And then the blind spot is you're managing the blind spot area a lot more effectively. Okay. Now, all of that information is available on our BDSL online. Okay, so you guys can have access to that if you're one of our clients, and you can go and watch that complete video, which then makes a thing. I think another thing that's really important is realizing this is so important, and I think a lot of people don't think about it. When you're driving, the analogy I brought out there was, when you're driving forward, you're also driving backwards. Now compute that for 1 second. When you're driving forward, you're also driving backwards. And people often ask me, how is that possible? How can you be moving forward and moving backwards? Well, it's really simple. Let's just give you a simple situation where this is really clearly demonstrated. If you're driving on a 3-lane highway, and you're in the middle lane of a 3-lane highway. And because we love squirrels in this country, everybody will be safe when a squirrel runs out on the road. So a squirrel runs out on the highway, and you're in the middle lane, and the squirrel's directly in front of you. And you are doing 60 or 65 miles per hour on the highway, and you hit that brake. Which direction are you traveling relative to the rest of the traffic on the highway? You're traveling backwards. You're not traveling forwards anymore, but relative to the other cars, they're all now coming past you at a very high speed, and the guy behind you is coming straight at you. So you have to be aware, if you're driving forwards in the forward direction, you're using your vision in front of you to clear the road and make sure it's safe in front of you. But at the same time, there are people going faster than you, coming from behind all the time. All the time, there are other people coming from behind that are faster than you. They're driving up behind you. They're overtaking you on the right. They're overtaking you on the left. All of these things are happening while you're driving. Therefore, if you have to know everything that's going on in front of you to be safe, you absolutely have to know everything that's going on behind you and next to you as well to be safe. So when you're driving forward, the moment you move that car away from the curb or from the parking spot, you are driving in 2 directions. And you have to set your mind up for that. Especially nowadays, in areas where there aren't such high traffic volumes, it's less important. But in the United Kingdom, it is very important. I drove up to Birmingham and back yesterday, all the way to Birmingham and back. And I'll tell you what, there wasn't a moment that I was alone on the road. There was always, and even when I was doing 70 miles per hour, there was always someone going faster than I was. There always was somebody on that road going faster than me, wanting to overtake me, coming up from behind, being in my right-hand lane. And sometimes those people going faster than me were in my left-hand lane. Now, if I'm thinking I'm the only one on the road, and I don't know where these guys are coming from on the left-hand lane, and I can't see them in blind spots and all the rest of that, you don't have time to look behind you. If you don't keep that image of what's coming from behind awake and alive and reactive all the time, that mirror signal maneuver is going to become useless to you because you're going to have blind spots. Now, if you're doing 70 miles per hour, how long do you think you've got when you look around to see if there's somebody in a blind spot when your mirrors are incorrectly set? If the guy in front of you hits the brake, you are not going to brake in time. Because by the time you look forward, you've already hit him. That's the problem. So when you're looking in your side mirror, you'll see the flash of his brake lights in your peripheral vision. But if your side mirrors are set watching dangerous door handles, how many times are you going to have problems in blind spot? So you've got to be so careful when you're driving on the highways, especially at the high speeds that we do on the roads. I mean, that traffic that was moving in when we were coming back from Birmingham at about 5:30, 6 o'clock last night. That traffic was 4 lanes in places, moving, all of it moving above 50 miles per hour. All of it. Chock-a-block. The fast lane was doing 75 miles per hour. The lane I was mostly in was doing 65, 70 miles per hour. And the lane on the left hand where the trucks were doing nothing less than 55 miles per hour. You haven't got time. If you don't watch what's coming from behind, you don't watch what's next to you, you don't keep yourself updated, you don't watch all of that, you could end up in so much trouble. It isn't true. So guys, you want to be doing that. You want to be in a position where you know what's happening. So try and set those mirrors as accurately as you can. And don't get in a car and drive it unless you've changed the mirror positions. And it's getting worse, because the scooters that the guys are riding, the electric scooters they're riding, some of those scooters can do 30, 35 miles per hour. You're sitting in traffic doing 15 or 20 miles per hour. You've got a flippant speed limit of 20 miles per hour, and the scooter can do 30, and he's got no number plate. It's ridiculous. Joke. The bicycle my son built for himself to go to school and back 3 years ago had a top speed, unmetered top speed of 60 miles per hour. A bicycle. How do you deal with those things if you're not watching your mirrors like a hawk? Obviously, we set it back. He decided we needed to do that as well. And we metered it to 15 miles per hour, which is the right thing to do. Okay. Anyway, so guys, please don't underestimate the importance of understanding that when you're driving forward, you're also driving backwards. And don't underestimate the fact that the better you know your junctions, the better you can plan, the better off you are. The better you know your roundabouts, the better you know your mini roundabouts and all those things. Know and plan in your head how to do each one of them, and then go through your mirror signal maneuver. Identify mirror signal maneuver. Identify where you're going to pull up. Identify where you're going to turn left. Identify what's coming up, what you have to deal with, and then go through your mirror signal maneuver. So the I need to know and identify. I need to do that. I then need to go through mirror signal maneuver. And I is identify. Okay? All right, that's my story for tonight. Please go and watch the videos that we've got up so far. We're still working on new ones. I've got 4 or 5 new ones that have been edited that we'll get up there in that place. Ask us if you've got any questions. Ask us if you want a video. If anybody says to me they want a video, we will actually produce a video for them. All right, share it with anyone. Okay, Muni, you had a question. Yes, go for it.
Just so that I'm 100% sort of certain of everything that you just said and everything that the video said, the side mirrors, did you say that they shouldn't be, when you're on that seat, the driving position, like seat, they shouldn't be facing the door handles? Is it they should just barely kind of, like, you should only see the door handle?
Let me explain that to you in detail, okay? So let's pretend I'm sitting. I'm going to watch you directly, okay? I'm sitting in the driving seat, okay? And here's the car window, right?
Yeah.
On my right-hand side. I lean over so my head is just almost against the car window. It's cold when you put it against the car window. And then I set this right-hand mirror. So I can just see the side of the car. Just see it. When I then move back into my driving position here, I will not see any part of the car. Do you understand?
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
And then what you do further to check is you look in your main mirror up here and you find an object that's on the very right-hand side of your main mirror. So let's say there's a little lamppost that you can see, a pink lamppost, or there's a green car, or there's a something in your main mirror. There's on the right-hand side, there's a green car or something you can identify. Then just by turning my head and looking in the side mirror, you will notice that that little green car that's visible here is also visible on the very left-hand side of that mirror, which means you've got overlap. That's all you want to do, is you just want to have a little bit of overlap between this main mirror and the side mirror. But you don't want that right-hand mirror flush up against the side of your car and looking into the same area this main mirror is looking into. What's the point of that? There's a green car there. You don't need to see it in 3 mirrors. You've seen it in 1 mirror, you know where it is, isn't it? But now this side mirror is pointing away into an area which is a lot more of the blind spot you've actually covered with that mirror. And when you set it up correctly, when a car's in this lane, the moment its backside starts to leave the area you can't see in that side mirror, if it's set up like this, you will actually see the car visibly in your peripheral vision. So then you end up with no blind spot, Minnie.
Okay, perfect. So in that video, when you was explaining, the car that you was referring to, was it the one that was parked up on the side of the road?
Yes. So the way they'd set it originally, where you were looking at the door handles, you couldn't see that car.
Yeah, you couldn't.
But then when you'd set that mirror, when you've moved your head over and you set it so you can just see the side of the car, when you move back, you see a car there.
Is that this? Well, it wouldn't be the same, I'm guessing, but on the left-hand side in that case, the left mirror or side mirror.
Side, you move your head to more or less the center of the car, just off the center of the car. You then set that right-hand mirror so you can just see the side of the car. When you move back to your driving position, you can't see any of the car, your own car, in that mirror. And then that mirror is pointing away into a blind spot area. And then you don't miss a cyclist.
Perfect. Okay. That's really helpful. Thank you.
All right. Guys, it's a really good way of driving. Believe me, I've taught many people to use that. Or that's the only way I teach people to set up mirrors. That's why I put up those videos, is so they can go and watch those videos on how to set those mirrors. A really, really good way of setting the mirrors. Safe, effective, good way of setting your mirrors. And once you've learned to drive like that, you've got to be really careful, because now when you then get in a car where somebody is watching door handles from the center driving position, you actually end up with areas that are bigger blind spots on either side of your car. You need to, that's why I say the only thing is, when you drive like that, you must be used to, when you sit down in that seat, first thing you do before you do anything else is you set your mirrors to your normal driving process. Very important, because otherwise you'll end up with somebody. Even when my wife and I, we share one car, when we get in the car, she's a lot shorter than I am. I reset the mirrors every time, and she resets the mirrors every time, because it's so important to cover those blind spot areas, especially in traffic. In London traffic, you have no chance, boy. The scooters and the death wish motorcyclists will try and do something stupid around you. Okay, I have Novit. Yes, Novit, talk to me.
Hello. Good evening once again. I have 2 questions.
Yes.
The first question is on the speed limit. Assuming that there's a sign of speed limit of 60, which speed is recommended, so that the examiner will not say you are moving in a slow speed?
Okay, I would say if you've got a bit of a windy road and it's narrow, you should be trying to do about 45 to 50 miles per hour to be reasonable against the 60 mile per hour speed limit. But if you've got a nice open straight road and you've got a 60 mile per hour speed limit, you need to push it above 50 miles per hour. really. Otherwise, it could be construed as too slow. But you'll often find in a tight, windy road, even though there's a 60 mile per hour speed limit, most of the cars will do around 45 to 50 miles per hour. They easily drop back to 50 miles per hour. So as long as you're doing 45, getting close to 50 in a narrow, tight road with lots of bends, you know, obviously you have to slow down for the bends and things. Because in the first place, the space you've got and the vision you've got because the road's narrow is substantially less. I mean, I know of roads that have got national speed limit, which is 60 miles per hour on single carriage, which are literally just one lane. And they're very windy. You can't do 60 miles per hour down that road. You'll just kill yourself and kill everybody else as well. So you need to adjust your speed a little bit, and it needs to make sense. Does that help, Navid?
What about in residential areas where it is 30, but there are some parked cars? If I'm to use 20, is it too slow?
Yeah, 20 is not really. If you've got a 30 mile per hour, I would say if you're in a 30 mile per hour and there's lots of spaces where both directional traffic needs to use the same space, you would be expected to normally do about 22 or 23 miles per hour. You understand? But obviously, if it's tight and there's lots of pedestrians, you can drop it to 17 or 15 miles per hour without any problems. It has to be justified, though. Do you understand? So if you've got an open road where it's 30 miles per hour, you've got a nice dual carriage, dual lanes, you've got nice wide lanes, it's open, you can see, and there's not a lot of people, and you do 25 or less on that road that's 30 miles per hour, you can get penalized for that, for being too slow.
Okay, the second question is on looking at the mirror on roundabouts.
Yes, you have to look at your left mirror before you exit. And the only time you are excused from doing that is on a mini roundabout.
So that's left mirror, not the center mirror?
No, you can remember you're on a roundabout. So in actual fact, the car is going to be, if you've set your mirrors correctly, will be in the left-hand mirror, and your center mirror will not see that car.
Okay.
So the normal procedure is, as you go into, this is the sort of minimum procedure. As you go into the roundabout, you would check your center and left-hand mirror if you're taking an exit up to 12 o'clock. Go into the roundabout, go in with no signal. Then what happens is when you pass the exit before your exit, you would check your left-hand mirror with the left signal. So do you use your center mirror? Yeah, you should. But the most important thing is that left-hand mirror, because you are going out. It's like a straight road. You're going left out of a straight road. Really important to check that left-hand mirror before you exit the mirror roundabout.
Okay.
But your training, Norbert, will not allow you not to check that center mirror. You will be looking in it. I know you will. If you've been doing it, you will be looking in that center mirror to see what's behind you anyway. But you must check that left mirror before you exit the roundabout. The examiner is going to sit and watch you for that one.
I think it's now clear.
Okay, we're up to 3 questions now, Norbert. Any more questions, my friend? Don't worry about the number, okay? I'm just teasing you a little bit. What else is there?
I'm now maybe on the indications, in terms of indicating when you are maneuvering, is it always that you are supposed to put your indicators?
Yes, no, but listen, let me give you an example, okay? I always give people this example. Assume the examiner asks you, pull up on the left, please, where it's safe and convenient to do so. He likes doing that. He'll do that 7 times during your test, okay? So he pulls you up on the left-hand side, and there were no cars around you. There was nothing that you needed to signal to. So you pull up on the left and you don't use your signal. But as you're pulling up on your left, a car comes out of a driveway in front of you and wants to go onto the road. Then sees you coming with no signal and stops, and you pull up before the driveway where he's coming out of. What is the examiner going to do with you at that stage of the game? He's going to fail you. You didn't see the car needed for you. You didn't signal when you pulled up. But there was nothing to signal to. but you'll fail because if that car needed to know you were pulling up. And when you get back to the test center and he tells you that, you are not even going to know when that happened or how it happened, because when you look, there was nobody to signal to. And the examiner, he's only got one thing in his mind. He wants to drink tea and know that he doesn't have an exposure. And you didn't signal, so you gave him every excuse for him to fail you. Now the contra. Every time you pull up, you check your mirrors and you put your left signal on, whether there is squirrels or people or anybody or nothing, or the world looks like the Mars, desolate, you still put on your signal and you pull up. Is the examiner going to fail you for that?
No.
No, he might mark you, he might, but normally not. A minor for unnecessary signaling. So what? Minor is nothing. Don't worry about it. So I say signal. If you get to a junction, you can only turn left, signal left. Because if there's a cyclist on your left-hand side and you haven't signaled left because the junction says you can only turn left, you haven't warned the cyclist you're going to turn left. So there's nowhere where you turn across a road where you don't have to signal. If you're going to pull up, signal. There are situations when say you're driving behind a bus and the bus pulls up and you now want to overtake the bus. If you don't have anybody dangerously behind you trying to overtake you, you normally would not signal going around the bus. But if there's any reason for you to think that the motorcyclist or the pizza delivery guy or whatever is going to try and overtake you while you slow down to look, then rather signal before you go around the bus.
Yeah, it makes sense. What about reversing?
What about reversing?
Yeah.
Are you saying what about reversing, signaling when you're reversing?
Yeah.
No, but
reversing, when I'm reversing
when you're doing a parallel park, you should signal left. So as you pull in to do a parallel park, your left signal should be on so people know you're going to pull into the left-hand side when you're doing your parallel park.
Okay.
And your signal should stay on while you're doing the exercise. Till you come to a standstill, you switch off your signal.
Okay.
When you're moving into a bay and you're going into the left and they're going left, reversing back, I would signal. No one's going to fail you for that.
Okay.
Yeah. If your signal makes sense, even if there's nobody that can benefit from it, it's not going to fail you for using it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay, but be careful that you don't miss signal. In other words, that there's a junction and then you signal too early. And you don't turn into that junction, but you're going to turn into the next junction. That's the sort of thing you have to be careful of with signal. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Anything else, Norbert?
Yeah, it's clear now.
Okay. All right. I will send you my bill when you pass tomorrow. Okay?
That's fine.
Okay, Norbert. You have a good luck with tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, since I've already got the 20 pound.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
sure that's the beginning of something good.
Doing well, Norbert. You're doing very well. Love it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, guys. Anybody else want to have got only 2 questions for me? Obina, do you want?
Yeah, hi.
Hi, Obina. How can I help?
Yeah, so with pulling up on the left hand side, so if the examiner says pull up on the left hand side and for some reason you don't see a safe place to pull up, is he gonna fail you for that if you don't?
It has to be, first of all, Obina, I would be very surprised if an examiner asks you to pull up on the left. You see, the moment he says pull up on the left where it's safe and convenient to do so, the examiner is expecting you to find a place to pull up on the left. And there might be a yellow line, a single yellow line when he asks you to do that. You are allowed to pull up to drop off passengers and pick up passengers and pull up on the left-hand side to check your phone or whatever you have to do, whatever you are having to do. You might have to pull up on the left-hand side to adjust your seat. There's lots of reasons you have to pull up on the left-hand side. But it's very unlikely that the examiner will ask you to pull up on the left-hand side if there is nowhere for you to pull up on the left-hand side. But let us play a scenario here. That there's a lot of driveways and there seems to be very little space. The examiner says you please pull up on the left-hand side where it's safe and convenient to do so. You should try to find a place to pull up. If he wants you to ignore the driveways, he might say, ignore the driveways. Then the onus is on you. You can pull up anywhere. And if you're doing the parallel park and you are going to end up in front of a driveway when you do the parallel park, you can ignore that. You can say to him, you could ask him, can I ignore the driveway because I'm going to end up in front of the driveway? And he'll more than likely say, yes, you can. If, however, you ask him a question, he has one of two answers for you. So say, for instance, this looks dodgy for you to pull up there and you're not quite comfortable. You really should try to pull up there if there's any chance of you pulling up there. But if there are obstacles that are irritating or that are problematic for you, address that with the examiner and say to him, listen, I really feel that I might be obstructing a driveway. And he can have one of two answers. He'll either say, you must do what is safe to do, which actually means, no, you cannot ignore the driveways. Or he'll say to you, yeah, don't worry about the driveways, just pull up on the left where it's convenient. And then you pull up on the left, even if you cover a driveway, it doesn't matter because he's giving you permission to do that. But he's not going to give you permission for something he does. He's not going to put you in a position where his instruction can make you fail. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because actually in my last test, so there were several times where he said pull up on the left. But then there was this one particular time he said pull up on the left. And I wasn't too sure if the car would be able to fit in the space there. So so I slowed down and was trying to look for another space on the left. And somehow I lost control of the steering, so I was moving very close to the parked car, so he had to intervene. So yeah, but the issue is with finding spaces to pull up on the left hand side. So if you don't see a space immediately he says that, can you drive
along
further?
a little bit. Yeah. You remember the onus is on you.
Okay.
Yeah, let's review that. The first thing there is you were nailed for inadequate clearance because he had to probably steer you away from the parked cars.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can understand that, and that's the reason you failed. You didn't fail because you didn't pull up. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So it wasn't that. I'm sure it was inadequate clearance. That's normally inadequate clearance. And the thing is as well, what I would always recommend if you're looking for somewhere to pull up, slow down and make sure you stay at least half a meter to a meter away from the cars on your left-hand side. And if you then see a space which you think, oh, I might be across the driveway, but I'm going to pull up there anyway, then at least try not to be across the driveway. If your back of your car is a little bit over a driveway or something like that, you'll get a minor for it, but it won't be a serious fault.
Okay.
Yeah, so give yourself a little bit of latitude there, right? You might not get it perfect, but the fact that you did it and you tried to avoid the driveway would give you the yes, that's okay. Let's give him a minor for just being too close to the driveway, but you're not going to worry about that. Okay, just don't get too many minors, all right? That can be painful.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
You don't have to be perfect. You just have to not make serious faults. You've got to stay away from the serious faults. That's the big thing. Relax a little bit. Examiner, if he says, okay, pull up on the left, pull up on the left. That now he's not said safe and convenient, has he?
Yeah.
And sometimes they do that because they want you to do something specific. But when he says, okay, pull up on the left where it's safe and convenient, and the discretion is yours. Listen carefully to what he says. Look for what he says as far as the pull-up is concerned. Listen carefully to what he says on the pull-up command. That can obviously give you a good indicator as to how to deal with it. All right?
All right. Thank you.
Is that helpful?
Yeah, that was helpful.
Yes, Moni.
Hi, I think this might be the last question from me for tonight. And what I wanted to ask is, by any chance, are you aware of any rules that might be coming into place after the new year? Is there anything changing in regards to like the theory side of things?
Moni, as far as I know, I haven't seen anything specific on the theory at this stage of the game, but I can give you a really good tip, okay?
Okay.
Get the guys in our company. It's a good idea to get them to book you your theory, because that'll also give you access to our artificial intelligence tutorial material, which is really, really good material. It's brilliant.
Yeah, Pearl mentioned that to me, the AI stuff.
Yeah, really good stuff. It's very, very good stuff. And normally you can gauge whether you're going to pass or not, because it will tell you you are ready or you aren't ready. It's very clear on that. What it does,
these new rules.
No, there aren't any new rules that I'm aware of. There are new rules coming in that they're talking about and trying to get through Parliament at the moment with the driving tests. They are going to stop the 10-day waiting time between driving tests and put it up to 28 days, which is effectively going to end up 5 to 6 weeks. Which means that the people, if they fail their driving tests, are going to have a lot longer before they can do a driving test again. But I'm not aware of anything on the theory side of things at the moment. That I'm not aware of anything. I'm not saying there isn't. Obviously, one can look it up. But at this stage of the game, I stand under correction, but there isn't anything else.
Is there any tips that you can recommend for the hazards test? The hazard and perception.
You need to book in for an hour's tuition on the hazard perception, and I will help you get through that.
Okay, thank you.
We do one-on-one. Honestly, it's actually hazard perception is it's very interesting, and our artificial intelligence has all the clips, just about all the clips. You actually recognize the clips when you go and do them. And the beauty about it is you can go through what this does is, if you do it on a computer, not on your phone, when you can run the stuff on your phone, but it's not as effective as running it on a computer. So when you run it on the computer, you get the hazard perception clip, and then obviously you have to click on it. And then what you can do is you can go and replay it, and it will actually show you where you clicked and how you scored and where you should have clicked and how you should have, and it tells you what you did wrong. So it's very, very good material. And then that's a really good way of learning hazard perception.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you, everybody, for your participation this evening. Really appreciate that. I see I've got one more hand. I will do Nikesh. You can talk if you find the button.
Yes. Good evening. Yeah. Actually, I'm booked for driving test tomorrow, and I kind of get very anxious.
Yeah.
Because I've done one before, and I really didn't do well, and
okay.
I'm just getting a bit anxious now because actually I was supposed to drive. He just told me to drive to a location without a map, and it's not a familiar area, so I really didn't do well at all, and I'm not good with
Okay, Nikeshi, first
maps and all that.
All right, Nikeshi, you must get in your mind clarity about navigation. All right, so let me give you that first. Let's deal with that first, and I will deal with your nervousness afterwards. Let's just deal with navigation first. the most important thing with navigation is that
Yeah.
you can get it wrong, and
Okay.
it doesn't matter. So
Oh,
you can get it wrong and it doesn't matter, but you mustn't make a driver fault. Now, a driver fault would be, let's say, for instance, the navigation sign said turn right at, say, right at the next junction to go to Chingford, and you're driving to Chingford. And you miss the sign and you go straight through the junction. You don't put on your signal, you just go straight. You do a perfect straight drive. It's not a fault.
okay.
You can make navigation errors. Navigation errors are not driver faults. As long as you don't make a driver fault, your navigation error will not fail you.
Okay.
The problem comes when you're coming up to the junction, you didn't plan for it, and you suddenly see you have to turn right and you're in the wrong lane. You put on your signal, you jump across the lanes, and there's a whole ruckus while you're trying to turn right. That is a driver.
Okay.
But if you get to the junction and you go straight instead of turning right, the examiner will say, why did you do that? You say, sorry, I got confused. But you didn't make a driver fault. Navigation is not a fault. Okay, how does that feel?
I think it's getting clear now. At least when such happens, at least I'll not get anxious that it's a fail.
Yeah, just listen, just be humble. Just listen to him and say, sorry, I'm unfamiliar with the area. I had a lot to deal with at that junction, and I just wanted to be safe.
Okay. Thanks very much for that.
Okay.
All right, then. Thank you for that.
All right. Okay. Now let's look at nervousness. Now, please, I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving medical advice. Big disclaimer. You guys understand? Disclaimer, disclaimer. I have often, the best thing for people who get nervous is for them, if they used to taking ibuprofen. Ibuprofen is actually quite good for calming people's nerves. About an hour before the test, but you must know that you're not allergic to it. If you've got any queries about it, talk to your pharmacist. Please, I'm not giving medical advice. All right, please, everybody understand this. All right.
I understand.
Okay. But a 400 milligrams of ibuprofen, good quality ibuprofen, is a good idea about an hour before your test. And if you're worried about how that affects you, then a good idea is often to do a driving lesson with taking some ibuprofen and telling your instructor you've taken ibuprofen. He must just watch that you don't get too lethargic. But ibuprofen doesn't make you lethargic. It just calms your nerves a bit. And it actually takes the edge off nicely. It's quite a good thing to deal with that sort of thing. I've found that that's helped a lot of students in the past. Yeah. So, all right.
Thank you very much.
Okay, guys, that's it. Good night, everybody. Thank you very much for attending. And if any of you need any help or you need support from our side, please talk to your client managers. And send us emails, send us text messages. You need any videos or anything, give us a shout. Okay, guys, everybody, good night.